Hello and welcome to Cory's Dark Corner. It's like Cory's Corner, just a little bit darker. Joining us today is our wonderful friend and super guest, Culture Casino. How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm getting dizzy because of my background. I'm great though. Sorry, you made me go all super funky because of the
Heck yeah.
intro.
I love that.
No,
I love that intro, the retro feel
it's
to it, man.
great. I love the synth, man. I love it.
Hell
I
yeah.
now I want to do some synth pop, like go like super retro and just like
I'll tell you,
record a
I've been
bunch of
thinking about doing some synth pop songs. So if you want to collab,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
cool with
dude.
that.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Oh yeah. What's up? So how's your week been going? I know it's only
Whew.
Monday, but this last week's been pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah. You and I both are involved in a project.
Yes,
We do that a lot. We get
indeed
ourselves
we
in these
are.
projects, and I'm excited. So we're busy. We're busy.
Hell yeah. I'll be
Yeah.
right back. Hold on.
No worries. We're for those of you out there who maybe don't subscribe or don't have the notifications turned on. Cory, Sir TalksALot, and I are over on Comics Division regularly, and we're always hanging out over there and on Mondays and Thursdays, and we have a very special episode of Thursday. So that's what we're working
Hell
on.
yeah.
Very
It's
excited.
gonna be fantastic. Apparently my mods are having issues connecting right now,
Oh,
so hopefully no porn bots show up.
I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any.
But so as well, I'll take a second to recognize the chat. Hail Ryan Roger Athe. He says, "Hey folks, hope all is well. I hope everyone enjoys the show, and a big shout out to Cory and Culture Casino, who I cosplay as anyway. If I have time, I'll pop into the chat, but I'll sure watch the replay." Well,
Awesome.
thank you for popping in a little bit, and if you watch the replay, thank you
Yeah.
for watching the replay. And
Yeah.
of course, there's Culture Casino. Hail all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I got stuck between all capitals and not.
that happens to me sometimes too. So when you hear the phrase traditional values, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Things that are tried and true that have always historically worked. That's actually what tradition is. Tradition is, it's essentially it's the personification of the scientific method. Something's been tried, it's been proven time and time again to be successful. So why deviate from it? Then engineer will tell you that, and a good life coach will tell you the same thing. When you have positive results, don't stop doing the thing that gives you those results.
Well said. So in modern society, there seems to be a major push against tradition. Some of those traditions that I've noticed are what I would call American family values,
Sure.
where it's, focused around the family and not necessarily the work. But in today's world, that's not so much the case. A lot of people focus on family like third, maybe even last.
Yeah.
And we've seen the damaging effects that this has had. It especially hits hard during the holiday season, because I would say it's traditional for families to have massive blowouts during this time of year.
Usually. Yeah.
At what point do you think we started making the shift from what we classify as traditional for America to where we're at now? Because I feel that there was a major push at the end of the 90s, but
No, I think that's probably a good assessment of the time value there. I mean, a complete shift from conservatism in all things, because and a lot of people are going to think that's a dirty word or it's assigned to a particular political policy, but it's not. Conservatism. I mean, you can conserve a lot of things. You can conserve energy. You can conserve water. It's the rational use of things, or the rational changing over time of something, right?
Yep.
Like I said, I mean, if you try something and it yields something more on the positive side of thing, then that's progress. And the problem is that we conflated the world progressive with a political ideology or a direction for people who have some very extreme ideas. and again, the traditional stuff is the stuff that's tried and true. And it's true because it's been tested for so long, and these are very successful ways of conducting society.
Right.
Progressivism is true only in as much as it's new, and
Right.
it's like this brand fresh thing. And so, and I mean, everything I'm saying right now, you can go out and find in 100 different spots. So I'm not telling anybody anything that they shouldn't be able to find out on the internet somewhere, right? But this is where that shift, this is what happened, and this is where that shift took place, was about, I would say, around the mid to late 80s, and I would accept that they really started to roll into gear about the 90s. And it all came down with a political mindset, right?
Mhm.
And the redefinition of words, and all of that. The shift from the idea of tolerating another person's particular
Right.
weirdness, they moved to acceptance. So in that, and if you didn't accept them, then you're a terrible human. Well, no. Try
Right.
again. I don't accept people shooting each other on the streets. I mean, that
Right.
happens every day in Chirac, but they're trying to normalize that behavior, that situation. And
Mhm.
I think that that's some of that. And I steered wildly off of the subject, but I think it did change right
Actually,
around the 90s. So yeah.
I don't think you did.
Okay.
Because when it comes down to the various ideas of
Mhm.
tradition, not everyone shares the concepts of tried and true, meaning tradition.
Right.
Um, in Chirac, for instance, we could say that it's a tradition for people to shoot each other. It's not a great tradition, but it dates back to the beginning of the city because the mob. But
I'm not sure.
just saying.
I'm not sure that's a good tradition to maintain.
And
It's not tried and true. Let's just put it.
exactly, yes. Real quick, we'll say, "Hail, Christian Delorme, still love that car,"
Me
and
too.
"Welcome back, Ryan Roger Athay." Um, so some traditions, as people classify them as traditions, I'll rephrase that. Not all traditions are actually time-based. A lot of people confuse tradition with the way their parents used to do it, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, I know a few people who take tradition and connect it almost directly to 1950s familial structures.
Well, yeah,
And
the nuclear family. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of people like to throw in that tradition involved what morons these days call toxic masculinity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and masculinity is a tradition we should carry, and unlike a lot of people, I don't believe that it's toxic to be a traditional male.
No. No, the world needs more traditional males. And believe it or not, if more traditional males, were featured, you would have a complete shift in society.
Hmm. And I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Hail Boosh McFadden. Culture on Cory. Well, not yet. No, I'm kidding. So as we move forward in society and as we grow, the values that we have change. This
Right.
happens with every society in history. It's typically a good thing because it'll, like, as we call it, it's open discourse. We
Mhm.
allow the exchange of ideas, and that is an American tradition, by the way.
Mhm.
It's in the Constitution. We exchange ideas and we traditionally build towards a better future. Um, the discount of traditions is incredibly damaging, in my opinion. Um, what are your thoughts on people getting rid of traditions such as the nuclear family? Do you?
Well, I think that you can see a direct correlation in the gradual slide into the eventually, uh, you know, avalanche that we have in the crushing um, of society. I mean, we're watching the rapid decline of society now. We saw a slow incremental change, and again, it's continually moving the goalposts. That's progressivism,
Right.
moving the goalposts. And it's not like traditionalism doesn't change, right? It doesn't.
Right.
Conservatism will change. It just changes way slower, and you have to prove something before you move on. You would think with
Right.
everybody's new fascination with science, TM, that they
Hmm.
would want the experimental method. Well, your experiments don't work. You've experimented in certain states and cities for periods of time with the same political structure, and
Yep.
it's led to nothing but the destruction of your everything.
Hmm.
For not just familial infrastructure, not just the physical infrastructure of wherever you are, but the complete degradation of the societal structure in a way that you almost have not anarchy, but you're almost worse off than you were in the Wild West. At least in the Wild
Right.
West, it was structure, right? You're
Yeah.
in a position now where in San Francisco, California, people leave their cars unlocked with their doors and their trunks open.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's to avoid damage to the car when people break into
Oh,
it.
it is.
You
It
know.
is. I mean, and again, if the people who are not willing to blame
Hail
the
red shirt.
problem, right? People who are not willing to blame the problem, with which is these failed experiments that got them where they are, that's the thing. And the fact that they just continually double down on it. So,
Right. And we've seen traditional shifts in tradition in a lot of different ways.
for sure.
Science is definitely a big one these days.
Yeah.
It was traditionally a verification versus falsification argument, and now it's more of a contemporary who do I agree with more versus facts. And it's breaking down the traditional thought patterns of I'll say Western society, because Eastern society's always had some strange thought patterns.
Yeah.
But I feel that the thought process of traditional American values has changed drastically as well, because from the 70s through the 90s, there was a huge push for individualism. Now, because American tradition is individualism, in my opinion. Now we're having a push towards communist tradition of
No.
groupthink.
Yeah. Hegemony. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just was adding.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think that there's a place for true American traditions in the society we're building right now?
Well, I think right now, I think this is going to probably be in direct conflict with some people's perception, but we're building two different societies.
We are. I'll agree with that.
And so, yeah, there is. Hey, what's up there, Mike? We are building two different societies. So you're having a society that's based on tradition, and you're having this progressive society, and which one is doing better than the other? And which one is trying to assert dominance? It is the failing state. The failing state is trying to assert dominance. The successful traditional state isn't.
Right.
And again, I mean, ultimately, this is one of the problems with libertarian view set, which is where I live, which I'm not even going to get into politics of it all. But I'm like, just leave me alone. You know what?
Right.
Leave me alone. Outside of me poisoning myself or others, leave me alone. The right to swing my fist ends at your nose, right? And the minute you harm me, well, all bets are off. So it's just let's do that, right? And the other, the problem is one, and Bush was pointing this out in the chat. One side of the equation, one society, because we have two, but one society wants freedom and liberty and all of that, and to limit the powers of government. The other side wants nothing but governmental control, and everybody has to live under the hammer or get the sickle.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
So there you are.
Some people would argue, and I was going to make this point earlier, but my brain fucked it up. But some people argue that tradition is in fact a time-based thing, and tradition is defined solely by how long we've been doing it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I mean, it's much like the experimental method. I mean, the scientific method. You are I mean, this goes back to the times of Socrates and everything else. We have a record of things that are successful. These things have been tried, they've been successful. These things have been tried, they've failed. Many of the things that have been tried are related to this hegemony conversation, related to Marxism, communism, socialism, any of these isms. Isms seem to be really bad. We don't have a good history with them. Every time they've been adopted, you end up with not that thing. You end up with a bunch of people held down by a limited number of humans.
Right.
And, that's a problem. And, now they want to take that game global, and but as far as it being a matter of time, perhaps. I mean, there is a component to that. I mean, if you continually test something and it continues to work, I guess over time, that's a history of being successful. So that establishes a tradition. But we form traditions all the time. I mean, like I have a new tradition. I think you do too. I go to meetups now. I meet with people that I have not known longer than 3 years. Right. I meet up with some people I've never seen before in my life. I've never seen their face, never heard their voice. And yet I have a new tradition. I go, I show up, I hang out. I get to meet these incredible people on the other side of the screen. Now I'm relating that to YouTube, but this is something that I'm just saying we can establish new traditions all the time. People do it all the time. I had a good experience at this gas station. So you know what? No, that's the only gas station I go to.
Right.
That's a tradition now. Right? Because every time I've gone there, I've had a positive experience.
Well, and I would say that experiencing new things and expanding your, let's say, bubble, for that matter,
sure,
is an actual tradition of a functioning society.
It is, indeed.
Right now, they're pushing for what Bush pointed out here. Was it Bush? Nope, it's just another red shirt. He says it's the collectivist consensus model. And
Indeed.
while he's talking about the scientific method, that is also now applying to society. It's the consensus method instead of test, retest.
And what's funny, our local troubles with a global pathogen, virus, whatever, that took its game global, actually sped all of this along because they could utilize this same thing from one end and the other end at the same time. They actually have thoughtful people at odds with the scientific method and et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, sorry, I just
thought you're good. One of the other things that popped into my head while I was planning this live stream was traditional American values in a melting pot society. I know a lot of people have a problem with the idea of the melting pot because it's not technically what we're supposed to be, but it's what we turned into. We didn't put in the right ingredients a lot of the time, but how do you think, let's say, foreign traditions apply within the American structure? Do you think they're traditional to America?
Well, we've brought in a lot of traditions in this country. Do you have a specific in mind? Because honestly, this is a time of year where we're steeped in tradition from somewhere at the beginning or the middle of October all the way through the end of the year. We are stacked full of traditions. They've tried to break those up in the last 3 years, right?
Yes.
They weren't successful. You had an entire city for a 4th of July a few years ago when they were supposed to not. They just did F
the
you.
Whole city went up.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we're just going to have fireworks. F you, come and get us all. And that's the point at which we realize that there's this very tiny little sliver of humanity that think they can rule you, and they can't. Right? We all get the reason society functions is because of our gentlemen's agreements that we have. Right. But setting that aside, we are constantly in traditional life. So we go from, like I said, about the middle of October to the end of the year, full of traditions.
Yep.
And I feel like some of those traditions didn't come from here.
No,
you know what I mean?
All.
Yeah. And so I think traditions are continually being adopted. And I think different things shift around. They're trying to make they tried to make some holidays somewhat traditional that were like, made up. And so there's a lot of, people going, yeah, I'm not doing that. This is made up bologna sausage, or you're honoring a specific day for a fractionally small group of human beings that don't care. And that's the other problem that I have with what's happened. We've so diluted the pool of special days that every flipping day is like National Razor Day. I don't care. And not that I'm going to use one anyway, but I'm just saying is like, it's just, there's a reason I said that. Cory knows what it is, but it's that actually, they try to water it down, tamp it down with all of this other stuff. They try to mute your traditions with the weight of all this other crap. That's why they're trying to change the dates. National Indigenous Bologna Sausage Day, and that's fine. If you're an indigenous person, great. But that's not what the holiday was. And it's not even necessarily about the dude, although to some extent it is. But you have these days set aside and they become traditional for a reason, right? So it's just, do we have room for extra traditions? Sure. But they have to actually be something of value. A lot of this other stuff, I mean, I don't care if it's National Bologna Sausage Day. I don't care if it's National Take a Kitten to the Park Day. I don't care. Stop giving me that crap. Let's have actual traditions and things like that. That's why I'm one of those people, Cory. You know what I do? I say Merry Christmas. I've done it in this week. All my videos are going to have Merry Christmas at the end of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. So that'll bring me to another interesting point, and hopefully I don't forget it. But Christian Delorme says, "Merry Christmas, Cory. I just sent you 3 tips." So we
like sirloin tips
are going to go over to the Ko-Fi side. And Christian Delorme says, "Shout out to 2 great Americans influencing in Canada. Cheers, boys." Aww. Cheers, Christian.
Thank you, Christian.
And then he says,
Joy Noel
to both of you, my friends.
Noel.
Yes. Yep. I'm assuming that's French for Merry
Christmas
or something. Okay. Yeah. And then an immature joke on a mature stream. We got 15 inches of snow in Ottawa
this week,
Canada this week. Why did the snowman pull down his pants? He heard the blower was coming. I like that. Yeah. That's a good one. And
he heard the snowblower was coming. I love it. Well done, Christian Delorme, and thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for the $31. It will go a very long way.
I would like it
helping the TalksALot channel.
I would like it to go. To more audio equipment for you. I think that's always.
I've been considering a Stream Deck, so because the vocal effects of those Stream Decks can be so useful.
You can add a lot of cool stuff, indeed.
Really,
especially the new ones with the dials. They're fancy.
Oh yeah. Bruce McFadden says National Taco Day is a thing, and CC is wrong. Tacos should be celebrated.
It's not like I haven't been. It's not like I haven't been wrong before.
Right. So I would go as far as saying that one of the huge reasons that we're not only being inundated with new traditions, and we're being inundated with every day is a special day, is the corporatization of everything. If you don't monetize it, it's not a good thing in the United States. That's the way a lot of people look at it. That's why we have colorless Skittles on Pride Day for gay people. That's why we have tradition go up, Christmas go up right after Halloween. That's why, as soon as Christmas is over, we're going to start seeing Valentine's Day shit start popping up. Well, the New Year's stuff is already there.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Which actually makes me think of another thing that's traditional, and that's celebrating the New Year. We celebrate a lot of different New Years in the United States, yes, between Chinese, American calendar, et cetera, however that works for these various things.
Right.
I feel that is one of the more positive traditions that we've set, but the values behind it have changed drastically. Because tradition is only Yeah,
No argument.
tradition is only a part of the conversation, because when it comes down to the values portion, um, I feel that the values of New Year's shouldn't be new year, new you. It should be more of a, I get a chance for a fresh start and I'll do what I can kind of
Right.
mindset. But there's a huge push for people to shift their values towards what other people say is good for them, um, which damages the tradition of free thought in the United States, in my personal opinion.
Well, no, you're 100% right. I mean, and that's actually one of the reasons we were founded to begin with is, you had thoughtful, educated men that came together and recognized that they were being ruled from afar under an iron heel that did little in support of these colonies that were left, kind of adrift outside of the value as trading outposts and natural resource producers. These colonies were literally not cared for. They had to self-govern. So in
Yeah.
realization that they were already in that position and that with limited help from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
they turned towards the redcoats and said, you should probably just go back home.
Yep.
And it was only that free thought. It was
Mm-hmm.
only with the ability to exercise that they were able to do what they did and give us the
Mm-hmm.
country we live in, and instilled that particular set of values, the rugged individualism that we have here in this country, which we're still a part of. I mean, look at how many people become successful from nothing. They come from nothing and they become
Right.
very, very successful.
Yep.
Everybody can be self-made. They just have to make themselves.
Yep.
And there aren't a lot of other countries on this planet where you can do
This is very true. This
that.
is very, very true. Do you think that those traditional values that our founders fought for and rebelled for and bled for are in danger right now?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I mean, the minute you start to threaten the traditional values, first and foremost, the country was founded on a set of moral principles, like there are
Mhm.
inalienable rights you are born with, you are
Yep.
granted. Those things could never or should never be tread upon, and if they are, it is upon us all to rectify that situation.
Indeed.
Right? That's part of what's instilled. This is what this country is built on. So yeah, the values that are associated with that, of course, are always under threat, and they have been even more so now than ever in my lifetime in the last 3 to 4 to 6 to 8 years, depending upon how you want to look at the calendar.
Right.
But then you add to that the things that are actually happening with our Constitution, which is
Mhm.
the greatest tradition that we have in this country.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the Declaration of Independence, basically said we're a free nation full of individuals. You no longer control us. And the codification of what we are as a people was done in the document called the Constitution of the United States and the first 10 amendments, which are referred to as the Bill of Rights.
Yep.
These documents are the basis of all other traditions in this country, right or wrong. And when we're wrong, by the way, especially when it comes to amendments and elements in the Constitution, we fix them. They're remedied. We
Right.
make another addition to the Bill of Rights. We make another amendment to the Constitution, and that solves those problems. Sometimes they're imperfect solutions.
Yep.
Sometimes there's no way to go back. In fact, I would argue the past is well behind you by
Oh,
the
yes.
time you get around to solving the problem at current. And
Right.
and so there's not a path backwards to fix it, because you know what? We don't know time machines, but you can move forward and just do better. That's what this country's always been.
Yep.
Do better. It's a tradition. That's another tradition that we have. We'll do
Yep.
better every
Improvement.
single time. We'll do better. We'll hit a hurdle. We'll hit a stumbling block. We'll run into somebody. Here's the weird thing: the U.S. has always been rather laissez-faire internationally. We always, and now we're finding ourselves in too many entanglements. It's a conversation that,
Yes, we've
is
become global babysitters.
Well, and no, we're actually being babysat at the same
Yeah,
time, which is
this is
also
true.
another problem. Yeah, other countries exploit our civility. They exploit our resources.
Hmm.
They exploit our wealth. They exploit our minds. Um, we have to cease allowing that to happen. So we have to
Yeah.
start removing ourselves from entanglements. The reason I mention that is because of our generosity and our willing to be a benefactor in certain circumstances, we get drawn into conflict. We have no
Yes.
reason to be involved in a lot of regional conflicts. So people are always often having the argument where, well, that's international interest. Show me it. Show
Right.
me how this is in my national interest. It's in these people's national interest. We
Right.
are allied. We have allies. These are friends of ours, but we are not entangled in this situation in a way that could be, you know, influential. We don't need to
Right.
be there, and we don't. Influential is not the right word. I can't remember what I was trying to say, but we have no reason. There's no compelling reason to be associated with a lot of these entanglements. So we
That's
certainly
true.
shouldn't be getting entangled with countries about how much they pollute or
Right.
or what any of these other things. I think the argument could be made that for the people to exist in harmony with other humans requires them be in harmony with the planet. I mean, there's no argument to be made there, but it's one of those it's one of those strange situations where we're constantly abandoning our traditions in favor of these entanglements, which I think is ridiculous. Because we think about it, globally there was
Hmm.
one thought process we just went through, right?
Right.
There wasn't allowed to be in opposing opinion. It was stifled. It was silenced. Nobody made any allowance for people to present facts that are now being presented that are showing everything
Right.
other people were warning about was accurate. But I don't want to get too deeply into that. I
Well,
apologize.
you're
That's
good. Bush McFadden actually brings up an interesting point here. He says the media shows a heavily skewed perspective of international issues. So when a politician gets involved, looks like some kind of hero. It's all lies. The tradition of and values of truth in the media
yeah.
are dead.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, that's been happening for a long time. They've been
yes,
dead
a
for
very long time.
maybe 8 to 10, maybe 20 years. It's hard. Depends on where you want to start counting, because
Right.
we had a lot of presentation of inaccurate, non-fact based information going back into, you know, the Reagan era.
Right.
We really had no truth in media, probably from the Kennedy assassination onward. I
Right.
think that not only did we lose innocence at that point in time, I think we lost a giant chunk of our national sovereignty. But that's a conversation for another stream, I'm
I
certain.
agree with that
Yeah,
100% actually.
yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about today was, and I'm not going to share my opinion on this one way or the other while I make this statement, but I've heard it said that America was founded on traditional Christian values and that it needs to be continued to have traditional Christian values to survive. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the building blocks of any society are usually based in a moral understanding. So, oftentimes prior to the age of reason dawning, you had every society born on the back of some religious belief system or affiliation. There's nothing wrong with having a moral structure. It doesn't, and it can be loosely tied to any religion. I mean, you have some very effective societies that are founded or born of that.
Right.
Um, Whether or not they lose that over time sometimes can be positive or negative, can be rather detrimental to society if they abandon the moral framework that got them where they are.
Right.
Um, and one of the reasons the Constitution was written the way that it was, and the Bill of Rights, so et cetera, was that, we acknowledge a creator. There's something greater than us. That's probably the extent to which that those documents were properly executed. And there was a lot of flowery words, associated with those documents. But at the same time, and this is actually preserved as part of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, is that there's no national religion.
Right.
We may have been founded on principles based in this, but that's not a nationalized things. It's the same thing that people, when the Pledge of Allegiance came into existence, which was in the middle of the last century, right? At least as far as saying it daily in school, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there has been a giant effort to do one thing or another, which is the problem with what we've done to this government, is we've made it political and religious and all these other things, when we're absolutely supposed to keep all of that out. The politics are supposed to, rest within these governing documents, not to change or manipulate or shift or what's the other term? Interpret these governing.
Right. Interpretation often leads to mistakes.
Well, and believe me, we've been doing a lot of mistakes. So it's is this country a Christian society? Well, the belief system that it helped establish it was Judeo-Christian, but the country has no official religion. You are not required to put any of that stuff on government paperwork. But you know what? You're not precluded from it, either. The statement that there can be no prayer in schools is one of those decisions that I still have offense with. I think anybody should be able to pray in school. I don't think there should be mandatory prayer for anybody. And I don't care if one kid feels left out because his parents are, trained him to be an atheist. In this country, if you really want to have everybody be free and possess liberty, they are free to do as they will. And if that kid doesn't want to say a prayer, then he doesn't have to. If kids want to say prayers, then they can. But it doesn't have to be mandated. You don't have to set aside time for it. You could say a prayer. I believe me, when I'm driving sometimes and, somebody cuts me off, I'm saying a lot of prayers. So if you've ever been in a car wreck, I'm sure you said a few, prayers as well. And it's those moments in life that, can be public or private. It's on the other person to accept offense or not. And that's their choice, not yours. It's the same, it's the same conversation around anything that's a right in this country, which would include firearms, which I don't know if you want to get into that, but to honestly, survival is a tradition in this country.
Yes,
we're pretty dang good at it. I think if you want to walk around, with your firearm, I don't see a reason why that's a problem. And me, and this is the funny thing, everybody wants to call it a own when they show people of varying shades of melanin, carrying firearms. They're like, well, are you okay with this? Yeah. What's my problem with any of it? Everybody, you should be carrying things that you know how to proficiently use. And
that's the only thing about gun ownership that I would absolutely push 100% is learn your fucking shit. Because I see too many people that are stupid with firearms, and it's unacceptable.
Well, just don't shoot your toe off, or don't poke your eye out, kid. You shoot your eye out with that, kid.
Man, I saw a video of a robber trying to break into the house the other day. He was holding his gun in his pocket while he was kicking the door, shot himself in the leg. I'm like, you get what you deserve, retard. Because he's wearing like Adidas sweatpants, holding his gun in the Adidas sweatpants, kicking a door with the same leg. And it's like,
that's not good, people. especially if it's a Glock.
Right?
Like no
external safety on that one.
Yeah, you know what your safety is? Your finger.
Yep. So, another a traditional value that I see dying in the United States is patriotism. There's a huge programming push right now, especially from the mainstream media, politicians. You see it everywhere that America is bad. And they're trying to fix it to fit the global ideals.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. That infuriates me. I mean,
Yes.
was that the point to just make me insanely
Well,
angry right now?
I feel like that statement and that reality should piss people off.
It does.
It's 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 perfectly fine. And this is going to sound weird. Any of you pinko like fucks out there that want to call me a fascist for saying this, go ahead. But nationalism is not a bad thing as long as it's expressed in the form of patriotism and not fascism. Because a lot of people mix up nationalism with fascism. And it's nationalism is having a love for the country you're in or are from. It is patriotism. Uh, but I'm seeing that die on a regular. And it's from the people that often say, and well, they push the communist values. We have an anti-American president in office right now. We have anti-American politicians all over the place, bringing us into the collective for the Great Reset. Very popular discussion right now, that Great Reset. But
It's not popular with me.
oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
But do you think that patriotism will ever actually die in the United States?
I don't think so. I mean, for as long as we have actual soldiers, not like, the soldiers that are, in development right now under the current group of military leaders. We will always have patriots, and even outside of that, patriotism is its own greatest tradition here in this country because I can't tell you how many times I go to a relative's home, a family member's home, and on the appropriate holidays, their flag is in their yard, their flag is on their house, their flag is on the pole.
Hail tops.
It's a tradition.
Yep.
It's a tradition in my family to go and place flowers on the graves twice a year, especially in remembrance of our veterans.
Yep.
In memoriam. We do a lot of things, right? That are tradition, which maintain a level of patriotism. I think that sometimes those two words can be synonymous. They can be used interchangeably to a certain extent in the United States. In order to be a patriot, you have to be somewhat traditional because there's a level of tradition involved in all of the patriotic activities that you would take part in. It's just the way that it is. And
I agree.
we have patriots in this country weren't even born in this country.
Hell yeah. Some of the strongest patriots for the American people that I've ever seen were born elsewhere because they actually took the time to chase the actual American dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's gosh, how can I put it this way? That's a blessing in this country. And I don't think people count that blessing enough. I think and this goes back to, changing language. Instead of calling people illegal aliens, we changed the word to migrant. Well, no, a migrant, that's a word that actually had a meaning, right? Yep. A migrant worker was somebody who went from farm to farm to farm to farm stuff, right?
Yep.
And whether or not they were here legally or not was not a term that was assigned to that, right? I mean, otherwise, you would call them a vagabond. I mean, there's a whole lot of other terminology that you would use, to define vagrant, but one of them was not illegal alien, you know. And you look, my position, I've had this conversation with people that I appreciate, enjoy, and respect, like Latino Slant. I have no love for these dreamers, none. Yeah. Because first of all, the hell is that word? Where did that come from? It came from a progressive, think tank. It came up with a word that gave us this bologna sausage to redefine the people who came here illegally and their children, that aren't here by legal means. You should not possess citizenship without legally coming into this country. And that's just the way.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. So,
Hail Brahmable.
Hey, what's up, Brahma?
He says patriotism has already changed a lot. People used to identify a lot more with their state than they do now.
Well, we need to change that. Do you realize the minute that civics went out the door, you're old enough, I believe, Cory, that you were taught basic civics probably in middle school.
Yes.
So they don't do that anymore.
No.
Yeah, nobody understands the function of government. You can walk up on the street to any 20, 30 something, probably with a microphone in hand and a camera, behind you. Ask them basic civics questions. They can't tell you what the three branches of government are. They can't can't tell you how many senators they are. They can't tell you the number of senators from each state. They probably can't tell you about their own state because they weren't taught that either.
Right.
In whatever state you grew up in, there's a decent chance you knew everything about that state. You knew what your primary, resources were, what your state bird was. You knew where your state capital was. In fact, most people probably knew where all 50 state capitals were in the United States.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. You can walk up to anybody and ask them, what this capital of your state is? You think Californians, the majority of Californians, could get that question right?
No.
What would they say, do you think?
I think most of them would actually say LA.
Yeah. And that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
And
it's just like New York.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks New York City is the capital.
No. Well, okay. So let me give you the one that almost everybody misses. Nevada. What's the capital of Nevada?
Reno.
Yep, Reno.
Yeah.
The biggest little city in the world. Yeah. But it's this really weird thing. People don't get it, right? Now, see, I could be an idiot and Reno's not the actual capital of the state, but
Well, and that goes into another tradition that was killed in the United States, and that's actual learning. From everything that I knew about my father and everything that I learned from my mother.
Oh, I was wrong.
Oh, it's Carson City. Okay.
It's Carson City. Okay. Well, there you go. I thought it was Reno. See?
Yeah. I'm really bad with geography. I'm just going to throw that out there. But what did I say?
Yeah, the state capitol building is in Carson City. Well, thank you for that, Boosh. See, I didn't even know that. See?
Yeah.
And I thought it was Reno for whatever reason.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Boosh. As always. I forgot what I was talking about before we got sidelined on that.
I can't believe that I didn't know that. Oh, well. Right. Embarrassment. It's fine. It is Carson City. I looked. Thank you. Yeah, I believe you guys. It's just crazy. I honestly thought it was Reno.
Yeah, but, me too. So the tradition of actual learning has also died. From the 1950s onward, we had a push for actual intelligence versus academic prowess, if you will. Yeah. Because back then, you went to school to learn what you needed to learn, but they also made you learn a lot more. Electives these days are incredibly select. Back then, they were like, okay, well, I know you're going for a degree in agriculture, but here's your required political science classes. I know you're going for a degree in marketing, but here's your, required debate and lecture classes, things like that. They used to actually teach, and that tradition has died, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, everybody's like, got me thinking I was wrong. Well, I was wrong. So it's fine. See, that's the other thing. When you're wrong, this is the one thing most people can't do now. Just be okay with it. Say, what? I was wrong. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I always thought it was Reno.
Yeah. I don't know. Admit the mistake, learn from it, and try not to repeat it.
Yeah. Those are the three things. I can tell you now, I'm never going to forget that.
Right. Well, I probably will.
Absent, my Alzheimer's and stuff. But
right.
I'm all for a Reno meetup, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that if it wasn't in Nevada. I just really don't like Nevada. That's why I'm trying to make all the other meetups. Like I was hoping to make it to Orlando this year, but
So you're not coming to Vegas, even though it's going to be earlier in summer this year when it's not so hot.
Yeah, No, all of my other experiences in Vegas outside of the meetup are what kind of ruined Vegas for me.
All right.
Um, I have a habit of taking blinders off really quickly. So I
Okay.
got dazzled by the lights, and then I got into the hotel and went, wow, that's all plastic.
Were you blinded by the lights?
Luckily, no.
Wrapped up
I
like the
was
douche?
trying to sleep in the middle of the night. Yeah. I don't know. This is a great show. I think we've had a fantastic discussion so far.
Oh, did I destroy the show? I did.
No,
I
not at
destroyed the
all.
show.
You
All
didn't
right.
destroy it. We're at the end, so I feel like
Oh,
derailing at the end's way better than derailing at the
I
beginning. So
I I forgot you only like to do an hour.
I do.
Hmm.
It's just a time frame
No,
thing
I
for me.
love it.
I'm off all day today, but
Mm.
that project that we're all working on
Yeah, we got a
is
lot to throw into that. Yeah.
yes. So that's getting a little of extra attention today.
It
Um,
is. It is.
I did star something that's very important to the Dix Division group. So if you follow Toxic Man Flu on Twitter, he got yeeted permanently. So check out Toxic Man Flu 2. We don't know
How
why
did
he
that
was yeeted.
happen?
Not sure. He thinks it might have been them classifying him as a spam bot because of all the memes, but we'll see. Parrothead says that's why you get a hotel that's off the strip, the original strip, where all the hookers are at, or the new strip. Because I was at the Paris, and I got to
That's
say
the
that
news. Mm.
that was a cheap experience for me, like expensive but cheap. I'm very easily disenfranchised with things that I find tacky, and Vegas is the most tacky place I've ever been. If
Well,
it weren't for the amazing people that I got to meet there, outside of Black Betty, it
whoa,
was
Black Betty,
fantastic.
bam,
Oh
bam, whoa,
yeah,
Black Betty, bam, bam.
I love telling that story. 400-pound black lady being like, "Hey, honey, you want to buy me a drink?" I'm like, "It's 6 o'clock in the morning. No, I don't want to like even look at you. What's wrong with you?" But anyway, it has been a fantastic show. We're going to start wrapping up now. So, Culture, is there anything you'd like to pitch?
Comics division tonight at nighttime. The Yelling at parked cars is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to pitch Thursday. Thursday is going to be incredible as well. We're all working on it, and I'm very excited about it.
Indeed.
And yeah,
Um,
pretty stoked. Pretty stoked.
Me too. So,
Yeah.
since he's not going to do it, make sure you catch the 6 Minute Daily on Culture Casino's channels. Find Culture Casino everywhere at Culture Casino. And make sure that you compliment him on his wonderful beard.
Well, thank you.
And that's a reference to something you people haven't seen yet. I'm privileged.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
you're gonna see it soon. You will see it Thursday. You're gonna see it Thursday before before the 6 Minute Daily. So you'll have to check out the 6 Minute Daily. It's gonna be special.
Hell
Special.
yeah.
Special.
Of course, if you're here, make sure you're subscribed to the Sir TalksALot channel. We're almost to 600. I was originally going to do another party stream, but after 600, I think I'm going to start trying to figure out how to introduce a regular large panel show for Sir TalksALot channel. I'll try to get some familiar faces on it, but obviously we're all very busy with our schedules, so that will take some work to do. But if you get me to 600, I will start doing large panel discussions on things, and it will be fantastic. I am still working out the schedule for Dark Philosophy. In the meantime, this show is its placeholder, so make sure you show up next week as well. Hail for the last minute Zombie Box reviews. In case you missed it, make sure you go back and check out this awesome conversation about what traditional values are and how they apply in today's world and what tradition is, and etc. etc. Definitely join us tonight on Yelling at Parked Cars. I don't know who the guest is, if we even have one, but it should be interesting. Find me on Twitter at The Good Voice Guy. And I am coming to Twitch soon. I said I would have that link for you guys so you could subscribe, and I forgot. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up real quick. One sec. Fuck you, Gilded. Click. And definitely make sure to join the TalksALot Townsquare on Gilded as well. As soon as I stop boomering this, I will get the Twitch link dropping right now. Pal. You could call the stream Sir Talks a Lot of Dicks. I could indeed call it that. So I just dropped the Twitch link in there. I will state that my goal is affiliate by February. And it's not that's not a hard goal.
No, you should get there.
So we'll try that out. I will be doing Cyberpunk. I'm currently power leveling my character. I have over 30 hours into the character, and I haven't even done the heist yet.
Nice.
The furthest I ever made it in my first playthrough was literally walking into the door of Konpeki Plaza, and it's soft locking my game. So I haven't gone back yet. So I'm starting over, and it's going to be fantastic. You can blame Culture Casino for that. Sir Dicks a lot. Yes, sir. I dick around quite a bit. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And guess what? I actually made an outro.
Oh, cool.
That's right. So we will catch you guys later. Stay sexy. Don't get murdered. And we love you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.